Hi everybody, today I'm going to show you how to do some basic corrections to a photo using the Affinity application. Affinity is a new free suite of tools for raster, vector, and page design from the people that make Canva. It's not Photoshop, but it's a quality application that will do 90% of everything that you want to do. So I'll show you the Affinity application and then we'll use that to make basic corrections to a photo. So let's go. Here I am in my web browser and I'm at affinity.studio. You can just Google, Affinity and it will take you here. This is the website. Tells you a little bit about what all the stuff is as you scroll. It is free and you can just click Get Affinity. Then you click Sign up to download and install the software. After installing the Affinity application, you'll find it in your Applications folder. I'll double click to open it up. Click Allow, and here we are. I've already been using Affinity, so you'll see some of my pictures in here. But this is the introductory screen. You can look for your files you've been working on here, learn more about Affinity, use templates, favorites like that. I'll let you explore on your own. You can see here, much like Adobe's Creative Cloud, I have an account with Affinity/Canva, and that's what this account is here. Today, we're not doing any of this. I'll click X, and up here at the top, you can see that in Adobe, we have Photoshop and we have Illustrator and we have InDesign. Those are three separate applications. With the Affinity software, they put all three of their design applications into this one, Affinity suite of tools. So here we have the Vector tool, which is your Illustrator-like environment. We have Layout here, which is like Adobe's InDesign. This is for page layout, books, brochures, things like that. And then we have Pixel, which is our raster application within the Affinity Studio software. For our basic corrections, we're going to use the Pixel Studio to make some changes to images that will help you complete the basic corrections tutorial in Raster Imaging. So first, I'll make sure to click on Pixel here. It turns this nice little lavender color. I'll choose File, Open, and here on my desktop I have some basic corrections sample images. I'll click on this old photo, double click it to open. Oh, wow, that's old, right? July 70. Sometimes a relative will send you this old photo they found that they scanned somehow and send it to you, and it's crooked and upside down, and you want to make it so it works. All right, so we've got this crooked old off-color Polaroid photo, and we want to make it look good. First thing, to get started, let's make it right side up. I'll click on Document and say Flip Vertical. Well, that's good, but we can see it's still backwards because this text is backwards. So I'll choose Document, Flip Horizontal. There we go. July 1970. Now let's straighten it up. I'll click on the Crop tool, and we can see it has a custom ratio set here. I'm going to go ahead and do original ratio. I want to change that frame so I can see what I'm doing. And then I'll click on the straighten tool. After I click on straighten, I'll roll down into the image with my mouse. I got this bubble level and a cursor. And then I click and drag in the image along a line that's going to be straight. And we get it straightened up, right? It looks really good. I want to point out this grid we see here, this tic-tac-toe board. This is called a thirds grid. And what that is a compositional tool in Photoshop and photography and graphic design where it gives us a kind of map for arrangement of items within an image. Generally, with the rule of thirds is that you don't put a horizon in the middle as this person did in this Polaroid image, right? Your horizon goes here on the bottom line or the top. Our human perception draws our interest to these intersections of the lines here. So this is called a thirds grid. You can change that if you like. None. Golden spiral is another compositional strategy. Diagonals. So it's a way to arrange elements in your pictures. I like the thirds grid. Now we want to crop it. We'll go ahead and crop out the white border. We don't need any of that. And so I'll back to the crop tool. It says original ratio. I could say custom ratio and make it 1:1. I want it to be perfectly square. Unconstrained means whatever shape you want. We can make it narrow, crop it to whatever we like. But we don't want that. I want it to be custom ratio 1:1. There we go. Now I can take this crop guide and move it around the image. I'll put my cursor up here on a corner and drag it in. And you can see how the rest of the image changes. The proportions are constrained to be perfectly square. Then I can, when I'm not dragging on a corner, I can click and hold to drag this square around within the image. That looks pretty good. Then I'll click enter and I have a cropped image. I'll press Command 0 to bring it up on the screen and make it a little bigger. Okay, now we have a straight, properly oriented picture. Now we want to fix the color. It's old, yellow, worn out. I want to maintain the integrity of the image, and so I want to make all of my changes non-destructive. We do the same thing in Photoshop. This is the same process. So over here on the right-hand side where it says background, I want to duplicate this layer. That way I always have a background layer to go back to. The original image, straightened and right side up, the original image is still there. So I come over here and I click on background. I'll hold down the control key and click. Then I'll choose duplicate. Now I have a second background layer. And I'll go ahead and double click on it. I'm going to call this working. I do the same thing in Photoshop. Now any changes that I make will not affect this background layer. Over here, same as in Photoshop, if I click on the eyeball, I turn the layer on or off. See, both eyeballs are off, so I can't see anything. So I turn them both on. Now I have a duplicated background layer that I call my working layer. This is the layer that I'm now going to make these changes on, so that should I go down the wrong path, I can always come back to the beginning and start over. Let's start fixing the color. In Affinity, I'll come up here to the Pixel column channel. Affinity is a new piece of software, so I'm still getting their sort of navigation vocabulary in my mind. I forget what they call this. But click on the word pixel at the top of the screen. Then filters and colors. Let's try auto levels. Okay. It pulled that yellow out, right? It made a whitish white and a blackish black and a grayish gray. It seems awfully dark. I don't like this. I want to go back and try something else. Let's see. I'm going to click on the eyeball over here. Turn it off. Turn it on. Right. The original image, it looks like there's some stuff here, right? I could see an ear and things like that. And the dark that it adds here is just too much. So I'm going to choose Edit, Undo Set Visibility, Undo Auto Levels. I'm going back 2 steps. And let's try again under Pixel and Filters, Colors. Let's try Auto White Balance. White balance is you're telling the computer what pixel on the screen is the color white, right? We could see in this picture it's real yellow. And so I'm going to click Auto White Balance, and the computer's going to figure out what needs to be white. Let's see what it does. Much better. Look at that. It's almost like white balance is everything we needed in this particular image because, right, this didn't get all dark. That yellow kind of came out of it, and it looks pretty good now. So I said auto white balance. Let's go back up here. Click on Pixel, Filters, Colors. Let's try Auto Colors and see what it does. It made it yellow again. Made it a little more vivid, I guess, and a little less yellow. Let me undo that. Command Z or Edit, Undo Auto Colors. I'm not going to use auto colors. I like these colors better. See this white right here? That looks better than what auto colors did. Pixel, Filters, Colors, Auto Contrast. Let's see what that does. Whoa, this is what got it real dark. So the auto contrast, don't care for that. Click on Edit, Undo Auto Contrast, or Command Z. One more time. Pixel, Filters, Colors, Auto Levels. We did that before, right? That's where we got the real dark. thing. It's like auto levels combines all of those things, and in this case, we don't want it to do that contrast change. So Command Z, I'll undo that again. Well, this looks pretty good. We ran through all the auto changes. We picked the ones that we like. I'll turn it off. This is before and after. But it still doesn't really look right. I want it to be brighter and less yellow still. So now I'll come down here in the layers panel. I'll click on the adjustments here, this black and white cookie, and I'll click on levels here. So rather than auto levels, we're going to manually adjust the levels of color, light, and dark in the image. This right here is the histogram, and what it's showing us is black on one side and white on the other side, and where all the values lie in the image. There's nothing here up at the top towards white, white, and there's nothing here at the bottom toward black, black. So there is no white or black in the image. So I can take that black level and move it in about to where it touches where the curve starts going up, right? This is where it wanted to do, right where the curve starts going up. This white bar here is the overall levels in the image, and then these are the color levels. So in this case, right, I think that this is why it got so dark earlier. It went in here, but really we want that black to kick in somewhere out here. We'll do the same on the white end. We'll bring in the white level. See how it gets a little brighter? We'll even bring that one all the way up to here. And you could experiment with this, right? So we've brought the black and the white levels in a little bit, and we can see that it makes it pop a little more. It makes it feel more colorful, more correct. Gamma is the middle point. That's gray, middle gray, a perfect blend of black and white. And gamma is measured as 1. 1 is the middle, 50% gray. So what we can do is drag it one direction to create more dark area to the left, or drag it the other direction to make more lights. It's changing the middle gray value. Right, darker, lighter. I want this image to be a little brighter, so I'm going to create some lighter shades here in this dark area. Bring it down to 0.8, sure. It's navigate by feel, right? Does it look right to you? Then go with that. We won't worry about outputs at this level. So I click X to close that panel, and here I have my levels adjustment. So there's no levels, and there's having put them in. Right, I made it bright enough to where these clouds start to get lost, but aren't. This part of her shoulder that's overexposed is kind of the brightest thing in here, the most washed out, but I don't think anything was there. This isn't a great image, obviously. We can make other adjustments, non-destructive masked adjustments here, and one I like to do is vibrance, just to make those colors a little brighter. Vibrance and saturation are similar. Vibrance changes based on an average within the image, and saturation, just jacks everything. So right, and it never hurts just to drag these things around. We're just bringing that yellow and green back in as we drag this up. But I like my colors to pop. Then when you drag saturation, see how it's more extreme? No saturation equals black and white. The colors are 100% unsaturated. But just for kicks, I'll bring vibrance up to 50%. Click X to turn it off. Click the eyeball to see what the change is. Off, on. Just a little more life. And again, this is to your taste, or the parameters of the design brief that you're working on. Now let's get in here and take some of these dots out. Some of this trash in the sky here. Clean it up. There's a fingerprint up here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to come down to the working layer, and I want to make sure that any of these changes that I make, again, are non-destructive. So I'm going to click here on this little grid. Pixel layer is what it's called, and this makes a new blank layer. I'll double click on it. I'm going to call it Retouch. And then I will come over here on the left-hand side and choose Affinity's Inpainting brush tool. I click on that, and these are kind of the Band-Aid, patch, and healing tools that you know from Photoshop. In this case, we're going to use Inpainting. Up here at the top with the tool options, where it says Current Layer, right? This is this blank layer. It won't fix anything here. So there I'll choose current layer and below. Then I can come on down into the image and click on any of these things that I want to remove. That brush is much too big. So right here, I'm going to click and drag this down to make a much smaller brush. Not much bigger than the dots that I'm trying to get rid of. You see how it repeated some of them? You can also use the left or right square bracket keys on your keyboard. The left and right square brackets are on the right side of your keyboard, underneath the delete or backspace key. I find that easier when I'm kind of in the flow to use those keys to quickly change the brush size. Come over here, get that one, and that one, and that one. Let's scroll around. Oh, there's this big thumbprint up here. So for this one, let's try the patch tool. Clicked on the patch tool. Now I'll choose current layer and below again. Right, the different tool, so I have to set it again. And I'll go ahead and circle this image with the patch tool. Got to get it all. Then having selected that area I want to cover up, I'm going to move over here to tell Affinity what I want to patch it with. And Affinity is showing me, right, what's in that source. So I'll just come up here into the sky. Make sure you don't leave something uncovered. And I'll click to make that change. There we go. We've lost the thumbprint. So here we go. Before, after. I'm turning the eyeballs on and off. We can turn them all off to get back to where we started. Command 0 to bring it all up on screen. This is where we started. And this is where we've ended up. Let's come over here. I'll press Command plus to zoom in. Or you can use the zoom tool. Click on that and zoom in on things. I like to use keyboard commands, so Command plus zooms in, Command minus zooms out. I'll come back over here to these repair tools, and I'll choose the Inpainting tool again. Boop, get rid of that. Okay. Much, much better, right? That's a much better image than the one we started with. Remember, before and after. Not great, obviously I don't think we started with the best image to begin with, but this is a pretty good start. And you don't have to just take spots out, right? Let's get back in here. I'm going to use the Inpainting tool again. Current layer and below. I want to take out this pole. I'm going to use the right square bracket to make the brush bigger, and I'm going to just do this. Pole gone. Line's gone. Let's Command plus a few more times. Kind of clean this up here. Command 0 to bring it all back on screen, and there we go. Before, after. Now, like I said, the quality of this particular image isn't that great, but we can use a sharpen filter to make it look a little better. To sharpen it, I'll go ahead and click on this working layer again, and I'll click on Pixel and Filters and Sharpen. We can try Unsharp Mask. See what it does as we change the radius of the sharpening here. How much it sharpens, the factor of sharpening. Kind of weird. And then the threshold, and see what that changes. We'll leave the threshold low. Change this to wherever we feel like it belongs. You can see as I change the radius, those fixes that we put in here start to pop out again. So we'll just make it a little sharper. I'm going to make it too sharp for purposes of our demonstration. Click Apply. I'll click on the Zoom tool to zoom in a little bit. And so here we can see, it's hard to tell with this blurry image, but it is getting sharper. Those pixel edges are getting a little bit crisper. Command 0, bring it all back on screen. Now that we've got it how we want it, we can go ahead and save this to submit in Blackboard. I'll choose File. In Affinity, we use Export, so it's File, Export, then Export. For an image like this, we would usually use a JPEG. So JPEG, best quality is fine. Width and height, all good. Quality 100, meaning 100%. And then I will click export, name it something like Parker, give me your last name so I know who's turning it in, and save it. That's it. You may also choose File, Export, and save it as a PDF document if you prefer. PDF for print. Same stuff. This is all good. 300 DPI. Export. Parker. Save. And now I have those two files on my desktop where I can put them into Blackboard and submit. So that's a demonstration of how to brighten, darken, crop, and sharpen, do some basic corrections to your images using the Affinity Pixel tool. Again, Affinity is free. Just Google Affinity online and you can download that software. I hope that helps, and I appreciate your attention. Take care.